She was never supposed to survive. At birth, she was a disappointment. As a teenager, she was declared illegitimate. As a young woman, she was imprisoned, interrogated, and nearly executed. And yet, this same woman would go on to rule England for 44 years, defeat the most powerful navy on earth, outmaneuver kings, emperors, and popes, and create an era so dominant that history still calls it the Golden Age. She never married. She never had an heir. And still, she ruled more absolutely than most kings. This is the story of Queen Elizabeth I, the woman who learned that power was not inherited. It was survived. Elizabeth was born in 1533 into danger. Her father was Henry VIII, a king obsessed with male heirs. Her mother, Anne Boleyn, had already made enemies at court simply by existing. And when Anne failed to produce a son, England turned against her. When Elizabeth was just 2 years old, her mother was accused of treason, adultery, and incest. These charges were almost certainly fabricated, but truth didn't matter. And Boleyn was executed. Elizabeth was immediately declared illegitimate, stripped of her title, and removed from the line of succession. Overnight, she went from royal princess to political inconvenience. In Tudor England, this was usually the end of the story. But Elizabeth did not disappear. She watched. She listened. And she learned very early that survival meant silence. Unlike most women of her time, Elizabeth received an elite education. She spoke Latin, Greek, French, Italian, and Spanish. She studied history, theology, rhetoric, and philosophy, not because anyone expected her to rule, but because knowledge was her only weapon. Power, she learned, was never loud at first. It was patient. After Henry VIII's death, England fell into chaos. Elizabeth's half-brother Edward VI died young. Her half-sister Mary I, a fiercely Catholic queen, took the throne, and Elizabeth instantly became a threat. Elizabeth was Protestant. She was popular, and she had royal blood. That combination was deadly. When a rebellion broke out against Mary's rule, Elizabeth was accused of involvement. There was no solid evidence, but again, evidence didn't matter. She was arrested and sent to the Tower of London. This was the same fortress where her mother had been held before execution. Elizabeth believed she would die there. For weeks, she was interrogated, watched, isolated. She never confessed, never cried, never begged. She answered carefully. She revealed nothing. Eventually, Mary released her, but Elizabeth was placed under house arrest for years, constantly monitored, constantly threatened. This period shaped her forever. She learned that words could kill, that trust was dangerous, and that a ruler who showed fear invited destruction. When Mary died childless in 1558, Elizabeth was finally crowned queen at 25 years old. Most of Europe expected her to fail. They were wrong. Elizabeth inherited a broken kingdom. England was poor, religiously divided, militarily weak, and its new ruler was a woman, something most European powers openly mocked. From the very beginning, Elizabeth was pressured to marry. Every foreign prince represented an alliance, a solution, a fix for her gender. Elizabeth refused them all. Marriage would mean surrendering authority. Producing an heir would mean vulnerability. Instead, Elizabeth turned her greatest weakness into her greatest strength. She created the image of the Virgin Queen, married not to a man, but to England itself. She dressed magnificently. She spoke with calculated authority. She played suitors against each other diplomatically. Kings chased her favor. Empires waited on her decision. Behind the performance, Elizabeth ruled with sharp intelligence. She restored religious stability through compromise. She empowered capable advisors like William Cecil. She avoided unnecessary wars until war became unavoidable. Most importantly, she mastered perception. Elizabeth understood something few rulers ever do. Power is as much about belief as force. In 1588, Elizabeth faced annihilation. Spain was the greatest empire on earth. Its king, Philip II, controlled vast wealth, armies, and the world's most powerful navy. Elizabeth was Protestant. Philip was Catholic, and the Pope had declared Elizabeth a heretic. Spain launched the Spanish Armada, a massive invasion fleet designed to destroy England once and for all. England was outnumbered, outgunned, outmatched. As Spanish ships approached, panic spread. This was the moment Elizabeth became immortal. She rode to her troops at Tilbury. and delivered a speech that history would never forget. "I know I have the body of a weak and feeble woman, but I have the heart and stomach of a king, and of a king of England too." Those words mattered. Against all odds, through strategy, weather, and daring naval tactics, England defeated the Armada. It was more than a military victory. It was psychological domination. From that moment forward, England believed it was destined for greatness, and Elizabeth was the symbol of that destiny. Elizabeth's rule was successful, but not gentle. She crushed rebellions. She executed rivals. She authorized spies, torture, and assassinations when necessary. Her greatest threat came from Mary, Queen of Scots, a Catholic claimant to the throne and a living symbol of rebellion. For years, Elizabeth hesitated. Executing a fellow queen was unprecedented and dangerous. But eventually, she signed the death warrant. Mary was beheaded in 1587. Elizabeth later claimed she regretted it, but history shows she understood the cost of mercy. Power demanded sacrifice, and Elizabeth paid that price alone. Elizabeth ruled for 44 years, longer than almost any English monarch before her. She never married, never named an heir, never explained herself. When she died in 1603, England mourned not just a queen, but an era. Under Elizabeth, England became confident, ambitious, outward-looking. Literature flourished. Exploration expanded. National identity solidified. She did not rule like a queen. She ruled like a king, without ever pretending to be one. Elizabeth I proved something radical. That authority is not about gender. It is about control, intelligence, and survival. And that is why, centuries later, her shadow still looms over history. Because some rulers are remembered for conquest, but Elizabeth I is remembered for endurance.